They called me trash at the golf course I secretly bought 3 days ago. The morning mist clings to Oakwood Hills like a shroud of unspoken promises, each droplet carrying the weight of 1,000 untold stories. Michelle Thompson stands at the entrance, her weathered hands gripping a simple canvas golf bag. The same one she carried as a caddy here 22 years ago, its faded logo barely visible beneath layers of memories and determination. The valet's eyes slide past her like she's invisible, a ghost unworthy of acknowledgement, his attention reserved for the gleaming Mercedes pulling up behind her modest Honda Civic. She doesn't mind. Today, invisibility serves her purpose better than any design or label could. The clock tower chimes 6:30 a.m., its bronze bells echoing across manicured fairways that stretch like green velvet toward horizons most people never reach. Golden hour at Georgia's most exclusive golf resort, where membership costs more than most people's annual salary and the waiting list stretches longer than the championship course itself. Where legacy matters more than merit, and the right last name opens doors that talent alone never could. Michelle breathes in the familiar scent of freshly cut Bermuda grass mixed with morning dew, tinged with the faintest hint of privilege that money can't quite mask. Nothing has changed, yet everything has. She chose this morning deliberately, with the precision of someone who has learned that timing is everything in business and revenge. Thursday, light traffic. Skeleton crew. The perfect time to observe without the theatrical performance that money usually demands. Her outfit. A faded Auburn University polo she bought at Goodwill, khaki shorts from Target, tennis shoes with grass stains that tell their own story of early mornings and borrowed dreams. Makes her look like someone's forgotten aunt, rather than the woman whose signature dried on the acquisition papers 72 hours ago. 3 days. That's all the time that separates the old Oakwood Hills from its reckoning. The pro shop glows with artificial warmth against the natural chill, its windows reflecting a world that has always been better at keeping people out than welcoming them in. Michelle pushes through the heavy glass door, her reflection fragmenting across its surface like a premonition of the shattered assumptions waiting inside. The smell hits her immediately. Leather and cedar and that particular brand of entitlement that seeps into the walls of places like this. Inside, Derek Morrison adjusts his perfectly pressed uniform, each crease sharp enough to cut, his name tag gleaming like a badge of authority he hasn't earned, but inherited through the simple accident of fitting the right profile. 28 years old, Hampton University graduate, 3 years at Oakwood Hills. His personnel file sits in Michelle's briefcase back at the hotel, annotated with complaints that somehow never resulted in consequences, but she wants to see the man, not the resume, wants to witness firsthand the casual cruelty that corporate reports sanitize into statistics. "Good morning," Michelle says, her voice carrying the soft cadence of small-town Alabama, deliberately unpolished, each syllable calculated to trigger assumptions she's counting on. Beautiful day for golf. Derek's assessment takes 3 seconds. The sweep of his eyes catalogs every discount store detail, every absence of luxury, every sign that she doesn't belong in his carefully curated world. His pupils actually dilate with disdain, a physiological response to the perceived threat of someone existing in the wrong space. His smile, the one reserved for service staff and lost tourists, appears with practiced efficiency, never reaching his eyes, which remain cold as the marble floors beneath their feet. "Can I help you?" The question carries weight beyond its words. Not "how can I help you?" or "welcome to Oakwood Hills." Just the bare minimum acknowledgement that she exists and the clear hope that she'll stop existing in his space as soon as possible. "I'd like to book a tee time. Just 9 holes. His fingers hover over the computer keyboard without touching it, a gesture of pure theater, designed to communicate that even checking would be a waste of his valuable time. "Are you a member?" "Not yet. Hoping to check out the course first." The smile tightens, becoming something predatory. "I'm sorry, but we're completely booked today. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at Pine Creek Municipal. It's about 15 minutes down Highway 20, very accessible. The pause before accessible lands like a slap. Michelle maintains her composure, though her jaw tightens imperceptibly, a tell she learned to control in boardrooms where showing emotion meant losing negotiations. I don't mind waiting for a cancellation, or I could join another group if they have space. That's not how it works here. Derek's tone shifts, patience evaporating like morning dew under harsh sun. His voice takes on an edge that suggests he's enjoying this, the small power of denial. Oakwood Hills maintains certain standards. We can't just accommodate walk-ins. Through the window, Michelle watches a young white man in wrinkled shorts and flip-flops approach the counter. His hair is unkempt, his shirt stained with what looks like last night's beer, but his skin color serves as an all-access pass. Derek's demeanor transforms instantly, warmth flooding his features like someone flipped a switch. "Mr. Chandler, your usual 7:15 slot is ready. Jim and Marcus are already warming up on the range." "Thanks, D-Man," Chandler replies, barely glancing at Michelle as he brushes past, leaving a trail of stale alcohol and entitlement in his wake. Michelle steps aside, then back to the counter once Chandler's gone. "Excuse me, but I thought you said that's a member." Derek cuts her off, his friendliness evaporating faster than morning mist. The mask is completely off now, revealing the ugliness beneath the professional veneer. "Look, I don't know what you're trying to prove here, but this isn't the place for it. The public course has ladies' mornings on Thursdays. They even offer discounts. I can pay full price. It's not about money." "Then what's it about?" Derek leans forward, lowering his voice to a whisper that cuts sharper than any shout. His breath smells of coffee and contempt. "It's about belonging. And people like you, you don't belong here. You never have and you never will. This club was built by a certain class of people, for a certain class of people. We have traditions, standards, a way of doing things that goes back generations." He pauses, savoring the moment. "So why don't you save us both the embarrassment and leave before I call security?" The threat hangs between them like a noose woven from silk ties and stock portfolios. Michelle feels the familiar burn of humiliation mixed with rage, the same combustible mixture that fueled her rise from poverty to power. But she learned long ago that the best revenge requires patience, and she's been patient for 22 years. "People like me," Michelle repeats, each word measured like ingredients in a recipe for destruction. "Could you be more specific?" Derek's chest puffs out, emboldened by her calm demeanor, mistaking it for weakness. The eternal error of those who equate volume with strength. "Do I need to spell it out? This is a private club. We cater to a certain clientele, successful people. People who've earned their place through generations of membership. Not," he gestures vaguely at her entire existence, his hand wave dismissing decades of struggle and triumph. "Whatever this is." An older couple enters, their matching Oakwood Hills windbreakers rustling like money counting itself. They pause, sensing the tension that crackles through the air like electricity before a storm. The woman's eyes narrow as she takes in the scene. Derek's aggressive posture, Michelle's calm resistance. Something flickers across her face. Not quite recognition, but the uncomfortable awareness that she's witnessing something she should stop but won't. Derek straightens, professional mask sliding back into place with the ease of long practice. "Mr. and Mrs. Wellington, your cart is ready on the first tee. Jorge has your usual setup, extra ice in the cooler, Mrs. Wellington's lucky ball markers in the cup holder. Pears, not it." Mrs. Wellington's eyes flicker between Derek and Michelle. Her mouth opens slightly, perhaps to speak, but her husband's hand on her elbow guides her away. As they pass, Michelle catches the woman's whispered words. "That's not right, Harold." But Harold Wellington, whose great-grandfather helped found Oakwood Hills, merely grunts and pulls his wife toward their morning of leisure built on foundations of exclusion. "You were saying?" Michelle prompts once they're gone, her voice carrying the dangerous calm of deep water that hides riptides. I was saying you need to leave. Now. Derek reaches for the phone, his movements sharp with the confidence of someone who has never faced consequences. Or, I'll have security escort you out for asking about a tea time, for trespassing, for harassment, for whatever I need to say to get you out of here. His finger hovers over the security button like a judge's gavel about to fall. I'm sure our security footage will show an aggressive woman refusing to leave when asked politely. The lighting in here can be so tricky. Makes it hard to see what really happened. Last chance. The threat is clear. He's done this before. How many others have been erased from these marble halls? Their complaints buried under the weight of institutional protection. Michelle pulls out her phone, a latest model iPhone that seems incongruous with her humble appearance. The case is custom, Italian leather with her initials embossed in gold, a detail Derek's eyes miss in his eagerness to see her humiliated. Derek smirks. Calling your lawyer? Good luck with that. We have an excellent legal team. Whitfield, Bronson, and Associates. They eat discrimination claims for breakfast. No, Michelle says quietly, scrolling through her contacts with deliberate slowness. Just checking in with an old friend. She taps a number. 1 ring. 2. Then, Richard? Yes, it's me. I'm in the pro shop. No, earlier than planned. Could you come down? There's a situation that requires your immediate attention. Derek's smirk widens, becoming almost grotesque in its confidence. Nice try, but name-dropping won't work here. I don't care if you know someone in maintenance or... Derek? The new voice cuts through the air like a blade through silk. Richard Hayes, CEO of Oakwood Hills for the past decade, appears in the doorway. His face, usually composed in boardroom perfection, shows cracks of genuine panic. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the cool morning air. Mrs. Thompson, I sincerely apologize. I didn't expect you until this afternoon. The pro shop falls silent. Even the distant sound of golf carts seems to pause. The very air molecules appear to freeze, waiting for what comes next. Derek's face cycles through confusion, recognition, and finally, terror. A masterclass in the 5 stages of grief compressed into seconds. Mrs. Thompson, Richard continues, slightly out of breath, his usual corporate composure shattered. I trust your journey from Atlanta was comfortable. The acquisition team said you wanted to observe operations firsthand, but you assumed I'd announce myself. Michelle finishes, her voice carrying the weight of every assumption ever made about her. Wear designer clothes. Play the part of new ownership. She turns to Derek, whose complexion has shifted from confident bronze to ashen gray, the color of old money, finally realizing it's bankrupt. But I wanted to see the real Oakwood Hills, the one my employees experience, the one guests experience when they don't look the part. Derek's mouth opens and closes soundlessly, a fish drowning in the air of his own making. The phone receiver drops from his nerveless fingers, clattering against the marble counter with a sound like bones breaking. 72 hours ago, Michelle continues, her voice carrying the same quiet authority that built a hospitality empire from nothing, that turned rejection into rocket fuel. Thompson Hospitality Group completed its acquisition of Oakwood Hills Golf Resort, making me, as you so eloquently put it, one of those people who don't belong here. The morning light streaming through the pro shop windows seems to spotlight the moment, as if God himself wants a better view of Derek's downfall. Dust motes dance in the air like tiny witnesses to a world reshaping itself. Other staff members have materialized from various corners of the building, drawn by the invisible pull of drama that disrupts routine. They cluster in doorways and behind displays, their faces showing the particular mixture of excitement and fear that comes with witnessing someone else's catastrophe. I didn't... You don't understand? Derek stammers, each word a shovel digging his hole deeper. Oh, I understand perfectly. Michelle's tone could freeze flame. She turns to Richard, who looks like he's aged 5 years in as many minutes. This young man just gave me a masterclass in everything wrong with this establishment. The discrimination, the classism, the assumption that worth is determined by appearance rather than character. Mrs. Thompson, Derek tries again, his voice cracking like a teenager's. Please. I have a family, student loans. I didn't mean. You meant every word. Michelle's interruption is sharp but not cruel, surgical in its precision. The only thing you didn't mean was to say it to someone with power. That's not an apology. That's regret for getting caught. What would you do if someone told you that you didn't belong? Comment below and share your story. The silence that follows is profound, the kind that makes people remember exactly where they were when the world changed. Michelle lets it stretch, lets Derek marinate in the sauce of his own making. Around them, the pro shop continues its frozen tableau. A museum piece titled, "The Moment Everything Changed." The assistant pro, a nervous young man whose name tag reads Brad, clutches a clipboard like a life preserver. Two card attendants peer around a display of overpriced golf shirts. The morning starter, a woman in her 60s who has worked here for 3 decades, stands perfectly still, her face unreadable as granite. Effective immediately, Michelle announces, her voice carrying to every corner, bouncing off walls that have heard decades of whispered prejudices and never objected. Mr. Morrison's employment is terminated. Please collect your personal items and surrender your keys to security. Derek sways slightly, gripping the counter for support. His knuckles are white, matching his face. You can't. There are procedures. I have rights. The union? Oakwood Hills isn't unionized, Richard interjects, finding his voice and his spine simultaneously. You have 30 minutes. Security will escort you. This is wrongful termination. Derek's desperation transforms into anger, the last refuge of the privileged, finding themselves suddenly powerless. I'll sue. You set me up. This is entrapment. Michelle pulls out her phone again, this time activating the voice recorder app. Strange. I have a recording of our entire conversation. Your exact words were, "People like you don't belong here." Would you like me to play it for everyone? I'm sure it would make fascinating evidence in any legal proceeding. The blood drains from Derek's face entirely. He looks like a ghost of himself, which seems appropriate since his career just died. Around them, staff members shift uncomfortably, perhaps remembering their own moments of casual cruelty, their own assumptions based on appearance. How many times had they looked the other way? How many complaints had they buried in bureaucracy? But that's just the beginning, Michelle continues, warming to her theme like a conductor finding her rhythm. Oakwood Hills will close for the next 72 hours. Every employee, from groundskeepers to management, will undergo mandatory diversity and inclusion training. Anyone who fails to meet our new standards will join Mr. Morrison in seeking employment elsewhere. A murmur runs through the gathered crowd, like wind through wheat. Fear, certainly, but something else too. A glimmer of hope from those who've bitten their tongues, who've watched discrimination happen and felt powerless to stop it. The morning starter's eyes brighten almost imperceptibly. One of the card attendants, a young Latino man whose badge reads Miguel, stands a little straighter. Mrs. Thompson, Richard ventures carefully, sweat now flowing freely down his face. A complete closure. The members will understand that excellence includes treating every human being with dignity. Michelle's tone brooks no argument. It's the voice that has closed billion-dollar deals and opened doors previously welded shut. Or they'll find another club that aligns with their values. I'm not in the business of providing safe spaces for bigotry. She turns back to Derek, who has shrunk into himself. All bravado evaporated like morning dew under the harsh sun of consequence. You asked me what this is about. It's about a young black woman who worked these grounds for 60 hours a week to pay for college, who was told daily that she didn't belong, who studied business textbooks during her 15-minute lunch breaks, who was accidentally left off the schedule when important members were playing. who built an empire from that rejection and came back to ensure no one else suffers the same indignity. The confession lands with the weight of history. Several older staff members exchange glances. Do they remember her? The ghost of a girl who carried bags heavier than her own body weight, who studied business textbooks during lunch breaks, who disappeared one day and became legend? The Morning Starter's eyes widen with recognition. "Little Shelley?" she whispers, using a nickname Michelle hasn't heard in 2 decades. "Hello, Mrs. Patterson." Michelle acknowledges the older woman. "Still starting at dawn, I see." "My God," Mrs. Patterson breathes. "We thought, when you left so suddenly, some of us wondered if I was pregnant, if I'd stolen something, if I'd finally learned my place." Michelle's smile is sharp enough to cut glass. "No, I left to build something. And now I'm back to rebuild this." She turns her attention to the crowd. "Sarah Chen," Michelle calls out, spotting a young Asian woman among the cart attendants. Sarah starts, clearly not expecting to be singled out. "I've read your file. Hospitality degree from Cornell, 3 years experience at Pebble Beach, yet here, you're washing golf carts. Would you be interested in Derek's position?" Sarah's eyes widen to anime proportions. Mrs. Thompson, I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me transform this place into what it should have always been. Excellent because of our service, not our snobbery. Yes, absolutely yes. Sarah's voice gains strength with each word. Good. Your first task is to review every membership application rejected in the past 5 years. I want to know if we've been screening for quality or color. Michelle nods, then addresses the room at large. Change starts today. Not tomorrow, not after committees and meetings and bureaucracy. Today. Anyone who can't accept that should follow Mr. Morrison's example and leave now. No one moves. Even breathing seems to have become optional. Derek finally finds his feet, stumbling toward the exit like a man leaving his own funeral. At the door, he turns back, perhaps hoping for a last word, a final shot at redemption or revenge. His mouth opens, but Michelle has already dismissed him from her attention, focusing instead on the future taking shape in the frightened but hopeful faces of her staff. "Richard," she says, her tone shifting to pure business. "Please compile a list of every employee terminated or passed over for promotion in the last 5 years. Cross-reference it with race, gender, and age. I want to know if discrimination is a pattern or an exception. Of course. I'll have it by noon. Make it 10. We have work to do." She pauses, then adds, "And Richard, your resignation letter should be on my desk by 5. A fish rots from the head, and you've been CEO while this culture festered." Richard's face crumbles, but he nods. He knows protest is pointless. The old Oakwood Hills is dead, and he's too much a part of it to survive in whatever rises from its ashes. "Mrs. Patterson," Michelle turned to the Morning Starter. "You've been here 30 years. You've seen it all. Will you chair our new diversity committee? I need someone who knows where all the bodies are buried." The older woman straightens, dignity flooding her features. "It would be my honor, Shelley, and about time someone asked. Miguel," she addresses the cart attendant, who had stood straighter. "Your file shows you speak 4 languages and have a degree in mechanical engineering. Why are you washing carts?" "No one would give me a chance at anything else, ma'am. They said I didn't have the right presentation." "Well, our new head of operations will need an assistant. Interested?" "Interested." Miguel's grin could power a small city. Yes, ma'am. "Yes. Where are you watching from? Type your city in the comments and let's see how far this story reaches." She continues rebuilding Oakwood Hills, one person at a time, while Derek's shadow fades into memory. The ripple effects begin immediately. Within an hour, Derek Morrison's termination spreads through the country club network like wildfire through drought-stricken grass. Phones buzz with texts, emails fly, and social media lights up with speculation. By noon, 3 board members have submitted their resignations rather than face the reckoning they know is coming. By evening, applications for membership from previously rejected candidates flood in. People who had been told in subtle and not-so-subtle ways that Oakwood Hills wasn't for their kind. Michelle spends the closure period personally involved in every aspect of the transformation. She reviews security footage going back years, documenting patterns of discrimination that would make any lawyer salivate. She interviews every employee, from the head chef to the newest groundskeeper, creating a comprehensive picture of an institution built on exclusion. The discoveries are worse than even she expected. A secret rating system for guests based on appearance. Code words used to alert staff when undesirable visitors arrived. A manager's group chat filled with racist memes and strategic discussions about how to discourage certain applicants. The evidence fills boxes, each one a testament to how prejudice becomes institutionalized when good people stay silent. But she also finds heroes. Employees who quietly fought back, who helped when they could, who kept their humanity despite the toxic culture. These become her lieutenants in the revolution, promoted to positions where their compassion can shape policy. The retraining isn't gentle. Michelle brings in experts who don't pull punches, who force comfortable people to confront uncomfortable truths. Role-playing exercises where managers experience rejection based on arbitrary characteristics. History lessons about how exclusive clubs have been used to maintain power structures. Data showing how diversity improves not just morality, but profitability. Some employees thrive, grateful for the chance to finally work in alignment with their values. Others struggle, clinging to old ways disguised as tradition or standards. These find themselves job hunting, their references carefully worded to be legally safe but professionally damning. Have you ever faced discrimination? Share your story in the comments, and let's create change together. 3 days pass like 3 years, compressed into a crucible of change. When Oakwood Hills reopens, it's the same place and utterly different. The marble still gleams, the fairways still roll like green silk, but the soul has been transplanted. The first morning, a Black family arrives for their tea time. Doctor parents, 2 teenage daughters who've been playing since they could walk. They're greeted not with suspicious eyes, but genuine warmth from Sarah Chen, whose new title of Director of Guest Services suits her like custom couture. "Welcome to Oakwood Hills," Sarah says, and means it. "We're honored to have you." The family exchanges glances, having heard about the changes, but not quite believing them until now. The youngest daughter, maybe 14, bold with youth, asks, "Is it true the new owner used to work here?" "She did," Sarah confirms with a smile. "In fact, she's here today. Would you like to meet her?" Michelle appears as if summoned, though she's actually been watching from her office, unable to resist seeing her vision made real. She wears a simple golf outfit, expensive but understated, her power coming from presence rather than labels. "I'm Michelle Thompson," she introduces herself to the family. "I hear you have a tea time. Mind if I join you for a few holes?" The mother, Dr. Patricia Williams, studies Michelle with the careful eyes of someone who has learned to read between lines. "We'd be honored. I have to ask, why did you come back? After what this place put you through?" Michelle considers the question, watching the morning sun paint the coarse gold. Because the best revenge isn't abandoning the places that hurt us, it's transforming them into places that heal. They play 9 holes together, conversation flowing as easily as their golf swings. The Williams family shares their own stories of exclusion, of clubs that found creative ways to say "not you" without using those words. Michelle listens, validates, and shares her vision for Oakwood Hills as a model for what inclusive excellence looks like. On the 7th hole, they encounter a group of Old Gad members, men whose families have belonged to Oakwood Hills since its founding. The tension is palpable as they approach, their faces tight with disapproval at the changes they've been forced to accept. Thompson, the lead man, Harrison Blackwood IV, acknowledges coldly, Quite the stir you've caused. Change often stirs things up, Mr. Blackwood, like a good bunker shot. Sometimes you need to displace some sand to get where you're going. His face reddens. My grandfather founded this club with a specific vision of exclusion, Michelle finishes calmly. Yes, I've read the original charter. Fascinating historical document, particularly the parts about maintaining social standards and appropriate membership. We have it framed in the diversity training room now, right next to our new mission statement. This is still a private club, Blackwood insists. We have the right to maintain standards. Absolutely, Michelle agrees. High standards, the highest in fact. Standards of character, sportsmanship, and respect for all people. Standards that judge members by how they treat others, not by their last names or skin color. She pauses, letting her words sink in. Of course, if those standards don't align with your values, you're welcome to resign. I believe Augusta National has openings. Blackwood's group storms off, but not before Dr. Williams's older daughter calls out sweetly, "Have a great round." Their laughter follows the retreating figures like music. Later, in the clubhouse that once banned her from entering through the front door, Michelle sits with Sarah Chen and the new leadership team. The walls still hold portraits of past presidents, all white, all male, all scowling as if they can see what their sanctuary has become. The financials are better than projected, Sarah reports. New membership applications are up 400%. The Youth Academy has a waiting list, and the PGA is interested in hosting a tournament here next year. They love the diversity angle. It's not an angle, Michelle corrects gently. It's who we are now. The money is nice, but it's not the point. The point is, she gestures toward the window where the Williams girls are practicing on the putting green while their parents chat with other members, a natural, easy mixing that would have been impossible weeks ago. That. Normalizing what should have always been normal. A knock on the door interrupts. Mrs. Patterson enters, carrying a manila folder. Michelle, I thought you should see this. We found it while cleaning out Derek's desk. Inside is a file labeled, Undesirables, Do Not Admit. Michelle opens it to find her own photo from 22 years ago, a surveillance shot of her carrying golf bags. Across it, someone has written, Uppity. Watch carefully. Behind hers are dozens more. Faces of people denied their dreams for no reason beyond prejudice. May I? Sarah asks, taking the file. I think we should contact each of these people, offer them membership. It's the least we can do. It's a start, Michelle agrees. She stares at her younger self in the photo, remembering the girl who thought the hurt would break her. Instead, it forged her into someone unbreakable. Mrs. Patterson, what happened to Derek after he left? The older woman's face softened slightly. Word is he's applied to several clubs. No takers yet. His reputation preceded him. Michelle nods, feeling neither satisfaction nor sympathy, just the neutral acknowledgement of consequences meeting actions. Sarah, draft a letter. If he completes a certified diversity education program and does 100 hours of community service teaching golf to underprivileged kids, we'll consider writing him a reference. A honest one. That's generous, Sarah observes. It's strategic. He'll either learn and grow, becoming an advocate for change, or he'll refuse and reveal he's learned nothing. Either way, we'll know who he really is. 6 months pass. Autumn arrives in a blaze of color that makes Oakwood Hills look like a painting. Michelle stands on the 18th green, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of justice. The course is busy, a beautiful mosaic of people who would have once been turned away, now turning in scorecards and planning their next rounds. A young voice calls out, Mrs. Thompson? It's one of the Youth Academy kids, a boy named Marcus whose talent is raw but promising. I broke 80 for the first time. That's fantastic, Marcus. How did it feel? Like I belong here? He says simply, and Michelle has to turn away to hide the sudden moisture in her eyes. Sarah approaches with a tablet. The quarterly board meeting is tomorrow. The old guard is making one last push to reverse the changes. They've hired lawyers, claiming we've violated the club's founding principles. Michelle smiles. Let them come. I've got something better than lawyers. I've got the truth, and a vision of what Oakwood Hills can be when it stops living in the past. Also, Sarah adds, trying to suppress a grin, Derek Morrison sent his completion certificate from the diversity program. And a letter. Michelle takes the letter, recognizing Derek's handwriting. It's long, rambling in places, but genuine. He writes about growing up entitled, about never questioning systems that benefited him, about the shock of consequences. He doesn't ask for forgiveness, just understanding. He includes photos from the youth center where he volunteers, teaching golf to kids who looked like the young Michelle. Write the reference, Michelle decides. People can change. Sometimes they just need the right motivation. As darkness falls, the course lights come on, illuminating paths that once led only to exclusion, but now welcome all who love the game. In the clubhouse, laughter rings out, not the hollow sound of empty privilege, but the full-throated joy of people being their authentic selves. Michelle walks through the pro shop where it all started. The same marble floors, the same displays, but the energy is transformed. Behind the counter, a young woman with a prosthetic leg efficiently handles a line of customers. On the wall, a new plaque reads, "Excellence through inclusion. Everyone belongs." Her phone buzzes with a text from her CFO. Final numbers are in. Most profitable quarter in Oakwood Hills history. She smiles, but it's not about the money. It never was. It's about the girl she used to be, carrying bags for people who looked through her, now carrying the responsibility of ensuring no one else endures that invisibility. Outside, the night is alive with possibility. Somewhere in Atlanta, Derek Morrison teaches a young black girl how to grip a club properly, passing on lessons both technical and moral. Somewhere in boardrooms across the country, other clubs wrestle with their own reckonings, knowing that change is coming whether they embrace it or not. And here at Oakwood Hills, the future has already arrived, dressed not in designer labels, but in the simple dignity of human equality. Your turn, Michelle whispers to the ghosts of her pasts. Then, louder, to anyone listening. Your turn to decide. Will you cling to yesterday's prejudices or help build tomorrow's possibilities? The answer echoes in every laugh from the clubhouse, every cheer from the youth academy, every swoosh of clubs wielded by hands that once would have been turned away. Oakwood Hills has become what it should have always been, not a fortress of privilege, but a garden where talent blooms regardless of the color of its petals. Michelle takes one last look at the course, then heads home. Tomorrow brings new challenges, but tonight she allows herself this moment of satisfaction. Not for the revenge, that was just the catalyst, but for the transformation. For proving that the best response to being told you don't belong is to buy the whole damn place and redefine belonging itself. In her car, she passes the old employee entrance where she used to arrive before dawn, invisible and insignificant. Now it's just another way in, no different from any other. Because at the new Oakwood Hills, there are no back doors. Only welcome mats. The radio plays softly, and she catches the end of a news report. Oakwood Hills Golf Resort, once criticized for discriminatory practices, has been nominated for the National Diversity in Business Award. She turns it off. Awards are nice, but they're not the point either. The point is Marcus breaking 80. The point is Sarah Chen running meetings that would have excluded her 6 months ago. The point is the Williams family feeling welcome. The point is Derek Morrison, somewhere in the city, finally understanding that privilege isn't a birthright, but a responsibility. The point is, tomorrow morning, when Oakwood Hills will open its doors and truly mean it when the staff says, "Welcome, you belong here," because everyone does. And that's not just good business or political correctness or revenge served at exactly the right temperature. It's the truth that Michelle Thompson drove home like a golf ball, sailing straight and true, toward a green that welcomes all who seek it. The scorecard of her life shows many bogeys, moments of discrimination, setbacks, times when the world tried to convince her she was aiming for the wrong holes. But it also shows this eagle, the day she returned to the place that rejected her and transformed it into something beautiful, not with hatred, not with destruction, but with the most powerful force in any game, the insistence that everyone deserves a chance to play. The gates of Oakwood Hills stand open now, literally and figuratively. The same iron, the same brick pillars, but they frame a different world, one where excellence isn't measured by exclusion, but by the radical act of inclusion, where the only thing that doesn't belong is the belief that anyone doesn't belong. Michelle Thompson parks her car and heads inside her modest apartment. She never developed a taste for ostentation, finding more comfort in purpose than luxury. On her desk sits the old photo from Derek's file, her younger self, frozen in time, carrying someone else's dreams. She touches it gently, a benediction and a promise. No one will carry your bags again unless it's their chosen profession, compensated fairly and treated with dignity. Outside, Atlanta sleeps, but change stays awake, spreading through communities like dawn breaking. Inevitable, irreversible, and ultimately illuminating. Tomorrow, Oakwood Hills will welcome new members, host new tournaments, inspire new transformations. But tonight, it stands as proof that the arc of the moral universe bends toward justice, especially when someone grabs it with both hands and pulls. The girl, who didn't belong, grew up to own the whole course. And in the end, she gave it away, not to another owner, but to everyone who had ever been told they weren't welcome. That's not just a happy ending. It's a beginning that echoes across manicured lawns and into hearts that are finally, fully, free to play the game they love. The final score? Everyone wins. Even Derek Morrison, teaching kids in Atlanta, learning that redemption is par for the course when you're willing to take the penalty strokes and play through. And somewhere in the distance, carried on the same wind that rustles through Georgia pines and over pristine greens, comes the sound of barriers falling, of doors opening, of a new generation learning that the only handicap that matters is the one that measures how well you play, not where you come from. This is Michelle Thompson's legacy, not written in marble or bronze, but in the living, breathing reality of a place transformed from a monument to exclusion into a beacon of what's possible when we choose courage over comfort, justice over tradition, and love over the lazy hatred of discrimination. The course is open, the sun will rise, and everyone is welcome to play.